It's really the biggest question in franchising. It really isn't. But if you're a franchise brand, why do some brands stall after they franchise? You go through the franchising process, you become a franchisor, maybe it's 3 months later or 3 years later. What's the reason why some brands stall and other ones scale and grow? We're going to talk about that next. And there was the intro, Nick, that I didn't know how to hit the button. But welcome, Nick.
I love that we're on a live stream and it's already
I couldn't find the buttons, but so this does fascinate me because it comes up during our FranCamp conferences, and representing franchisors, we see brands that scale and grow, and what I'll share is sometimes that slow growth is fast growth, it's methodical foundation setting, and then at some of our FranCamp events, you'll see brands we've never met come and say, hey, Nick, Charles, I franchised 3 years ago and I'm stuck. I spent dollars, I didn't get any traction. So today, what I'd like to do, Nick, is if we could set 4 foundational growth principles or 4 things that brands need to focus on to get unstuck or prevent getting stalled. What do you think about that?
See, the problem is you're always in my head. So when I give an answer, then later you're like, I told you not to tell people that they have to spend $10 billion.
Yeah, no. Don't do that. Well,
I knew.
For the minute, I am prohibiting you from talking about marketing spend. This is now.
I'm not talking
No, I'm not saying marketing. For the moment, I will save it. We will table it for factor 4. So factors 1, 2, and 3 are. Oh, my mic isn't on. I'm being told. Hold on.
I don't know. Your mic is on. You're just.
It's talking. Just the regular one.
Yeah, now you're.
So, yeah, it's switching. So I'm having technology issues. So, emerging brands, we don't want to stall. We want to grow.
Okay. Well, let's start before you're a franchise, and if you haven't done this, then when you're a franchise, you gotta recalibrate. There's a brand that's really top of mind right now. In my head, they do not have the growth that they expect. Now, what pressure does that put back on our company? It's like we're not getting enough leads. That's point 4 that we're talking about.
Point 4. Yep.
Point 1 is the economics of a business. Right. And so many businesses get into business without understanding the economics. I'm going to talk about two categories and then give me the feedback on it. One is, if I took every dollar out of the business for the first 3 years, could I pay off my entire investment into the business? If it's no, then as a franchisor, you haven't engineered a really strong franchisable business, because then it swings more into hobby business, because if it goes beyond that, then the scaling just doesn't work, because really a good business should be able to, if I open up one for the first 3 years, by year 6, all 3 of those are paid off and I'm making significant money. That's a good business plan. So what is the cost that's going to take a franchisee to get into it, and how much they can make has to be sound. Now, the biggest miss, I was with a brand yesterday, and I said, what's your cost of acquisition for a customer? It doesn't matter what the number is. I said, now what's that customer worth on an annual basis? I said, and what's the lifetime value of a customer? I said, so in your FDD in item 7, it says grand opening, and grand opening has $10,000. I go, where did you get that? They go, I don't know. We just earmarked it. No. That needs to be calculated back to a rush to break even. So if your break even where the franchisee stops bleeding cash, just say it's $10,000 a month. Well, then the way that you design the grand opening is to drive them to have enough customers to get to $10,000 a month so that they stop bleeding cash and their stress levels go down so they can super focus on growing the business. And the other layer to that are things that cost no money. That part of, I'll say the way that I'm evaluating our staff right now.
Nick, before we get there, 1 second, because you made a really good point. So if we're talking why brands stall after launch, and your first point, like the foundational, is you need to have your economics right.
Your foundation is broken is why you stall.
Right. And it's either it was broken and you weren't ready to franchise, or you franchised and either your foundation's still broken or you haven't reevaluated it, or the marketplace doesn't understand your economics. And for you, you're challenging every franchisor right now. What are those unit economics? What's your estimated investment? What's your profitability look like? How long would it take to recoup that initial investment?
So,
If those things don't align, that's probably a reason why you may stall.
but I'm not telling you that you're stalling, because there could be a fanatical brand. Let's just say Charles is balloon animals, and people are like, I love making balloon animals.
Right.
Can it make money? No, it can't. But I'm very happy with this business, and I don't care about making money. There are plenty of those. I'm not saying you shouldn't franchise, but when you look in the mirror and say, why am I not scaling? You don't scale because two things. Like the brands that fail are the ones that sell to multi-packs to franchisees who never become multi-unit owners. Multi-packs to franchisees who never become multi-owners fail. The brands that win, their franchisees are owning, let's just call it 50% of the positive same store unit count growth. So your existing franchisees account for 50% of the growth. So you had 10 units, your existing franchisees were 5 and new blood were 5. So that's where that, like, then which all I'm talking about are the unit level economics on that front.
Right. And so unit level economics. And your other point too is estimated investment, ROI, but with your balloon animal example, your other point is you have to understand the category you're in. Are you in a lifestyle franchise, supplemental income, income replacement? So that's the economics. You need to have it right. Even if things are going well, now's the time to really.
But note what I said on the and is item 7 in the grand opening.
Yeah.
Is the pathway of least resistance to get your unit level economics right. Because when you earmark cash in item 7 for a grand opening, it is operating capital. It's not investment capital. And so what happens is now you've set the expectations for the franchisee that if they need $1 to get to profitability, or they need $1 million, whatever that number's in there, you've set the expectation properly and you tied it back to an equation of what is a customer worth and how many customers do we need to break even. Like that's the 1 and 2.
I get that, Nick. Now that's one. Give me the second big principle to get unstuck and to grow a franchise.
Wait, let me give that one. I'm going to give one quick statement. The thing that costs no money for a franchisee, just listen for a second.
Is what?
Is community involvement. And that's what I was saying. Like I evaluate my staff on 50% culture, 50% talent. I think franchisors that evaluate franchisees the same way, if you don't want to get out in the community and be a part of the community, then are you willing to invest in someone to join your team to do it? And if you're not, you are not a franchisee for a brand, because the franchisor is relying on a franchisee to be the face of the community. That costs nothing.
But isn't that the second bucket then? So 1 was unit economics. 2 is aligning with the right franchisees.
Yes, great on number 2, but what I'm saying on the community aspect, yes, and it's finding franchisees that are willing to do the hustle work in the community that costs nothing.
No, and look, I love those 2 points, right? And they're critical, and look, those are the biggest frustrations franchisors have, right? Which is, I sold a franchise, but now the franchisee thinks I'm doing everything for them and going to make the phone ring. So we have the unit economics, and that's engineered and understood, and it's genuine. 2, alignment with the right franchisees, understanding you pick the wrong ones, they're not going to validate, they're going to hurt sales, they're going to cost you money, and you're not going to grow. So a stall factor is wrong franchisee. And to Nick's point, understand what that marketing spend needs to be. Understand franchisees have the right mindset, that they understand this isn't a continuing obligation because they'll get stalled. And it needs to be a franchisee that could go out in the community. So far, I think you knocked those 2 out of the park.
Thank you.
Yes, Nicholas. Give me the third one. Again, application that when a franchisor, and by the way, guys, if you haven't signed up for FranCamp yet, it's coming up in June. We're going to be focused on brand positioning, AI, really redefining how AI sees your brand and creating a competitive advantage in the space in the franchise world. But give me the third factor, Nick, that people could be implementing that's going to prevent stalling and is going to help them grow as an emerging brand.
Overselling and under delivering on franchisee support.
I think that's great.
That the franchisor says, we support you like this. The reality is you support them like that, which causes their unit level economics not to perform, which causes them to fail. And so franchisors under invest in the support, over invest in franchise sales, and therefore can get the new blood in, but can't support them, which turns into multi-unit deals that are not that are for single unit operators.
I mean, it's such a critical point, and where you really, not that I didn't know, but you really helped influence my perspective is, when you're speaking with franchisors and you're communicating growth strategy, and Nick, and you're focused on what does the valuation of your company look like 5 years from now, and that valuation is going to be tied to your royalties. And what generates your royalties? Well, it's franchisee sales. And so your point always is focus on improving the sales and performance of existing franchisees before selling franchises. I think that's such a powerful point, and it's the right way to look at it. Well, I'll share with this too.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
I get so frustrated when I see certain brands, on LinkedIn posts with certain sales organizations welcoming all these new people. And my big question is, are they going to be able to support them? And everyone's smiling and happy when everything's being signed. But I'm like, that's a big obligation. Where's the infrastructure and where's the capital to fuel that?
Well, and franchisees, unfortunately, don't have the educational resources to understand the questions to ask about, are you in the business of selling franchise? Or are you in the business of building franchisees? And they don't know how to ask that question because the franchise brokers feed them a whole bunch of bullshit in the sales process. But when they understand, like, are you really going to support me? And do you really want me to hit these 3 units that I bought, or these 100 units that the broker talked me into buying? That's the magic. And so you're right. Like, when all these bozos are celebrating deals sold, let's celebrate 1-year milestones of the franchisees we placed. And when they open up unit 2, that's what we should be celebrating.
I love that from a marketing brand PR perspective.
Wait, will you go trademark franchise bozos? I want that.
No, I will not trade. But Nick, I do love that from, because the marketplace does get crowded. And even, at FranCamp, we're going to be focused on AI brand story. But imagine a brand that's focusing its content on not only the celebration of the sale and the celebration of the opening, but the anniversaries that you're talking about and focused on. And also, to the extent they can legally, that unit economic performance, that year-over-year sales growth, deeper dive KPIs as to what they're evaluating, and their mission, not of selling, but actually supporting.
Well, I'm going to say a line, and let me put the asterisk on here. I'm not selling our company by any means. I'm just going to say this line, okay? So nobody hire us. This isn't meant for us to get hired. It surprises me. Like, I've talked with some sales organizations. I was like, well, we could do PR for your franchises when they open. I go, why would we want to do that? We don't need PR to get more deals. I go, listen, you idiot. It's about onboarding the franchisee. Like, we just had a client call today, and they said, we've noticed a trend that every time we get PR for a franchisee, the franchisee says we get a 10 to 15% uptick in business. I don't think PR is going to magically solve the problem for a franchisee in a marketplace or magically build their sales to some crazy volumes. But I think about the support mechanisms that happen after a franchisee signs. PR to celebrate their story and their opening, PR to celebrate milestones, and PR to keep the drumbeat alive when there's things like National Pizza Day or other things. It's all B2C. So when I talk about PR, it goes B2B and B to B to B to C. Like, that's the model that it should work. Most franchisors go B2B. I want to sell franchises through PR. They don't go B2B to B to C. They forget that second part, and then their franchisees are left whatever. And I'm not saying like PR is the wide thread. It's more like marketing. Like, how do we give them the tools to market their business in their local market to drive the sales, which is what I was talking about in item 7 in a grand opening anyway. But the point is, I see all these celebration of deals. we're not celebrating scaling franchisees. And if we celebrate scaling franchisees, hey, everybody, guess what? Your royalties go up because a franchisee that owns 2 units, you just doubled your royalty for the price of bringing in one franchisee who you're actually going to support. Like, this is not crazy math, but it's so often missed by so many franchise brands because we over-index and over-celebrate the sale. We under-index and under-celebrate the success of the franchisee.
No, I was hoping to say scale. Overestimate the sale, underestimate the scale. So 3 reasons, right, why they stall, and really ways to get unstuck and where a brand should be focused. One is having the foundational economics. 2, the right franchisees. 3, building your system to scale and not sell. What's the 4th, Nick? And I'm giving you this. It does not have to bring up numbers, but it's your choice.
I mean, I'm going to say it. Like, are you properly capitalized? Now, to do all 3 of those, not to spend on franchise marketing. Are you properly capitalized to support all 3 of the first 3 ones? And properly capitalized, sometimes 50% ownership in a business that could be worth hundreds of $1 million is better than 100% ownership of a business that could be worth tens of millions of dollars. And so if you're a franchisor, you're on the cusp of all 3. You are undercapitalized. There's plenty of capital that is available in different formats to come into your business. If you don't capitalize the business properly and you haven't perfected all 3, you're not going to win. Like, money solves the issue. And so, like, I've said this before, the emerging brand that's not growing, that has stalled after launch, I'm like, well, what are you spending on development? They're like, we spend $4,000 a month. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, a broker deal costs $25,000. An organic deal costs much of the same. Hopefully an organic deal is going to bring in more of a scaling franchisee, but who knows? And organic is still bullshit because it's a market. You're still spending on marketing. When you're talking about spending, we're going to spend $4,000 a month. You are in crap shoot zone. You have not spent enough funds to get the engine moving. And so when you look around the room and blame everything for why you're not growing, it is a capitalization issue. I'm not saying come out of the gates with millions of dollars, but you want to add 4 units in the next year, you better be prepared to budget $100,000 spend to build enough momentum to get those deals. That's where they fail. That's where they stall.
So
money.
Nick, I will tell you officially, you've hit every cylinder here in a good way. Thank you. On the capitalization front, let's assume I'm already a franchisor, and I'll something we talk about often, where I see emerging brands get really hurt. They get stalled and restalled and then stalled again, spend little bits of capital, more capital, and it's done in a segmented way, going through different avenues and new strategies. And at the end of a number of years, they just wasted capital and have gained no traction, right? We see it all the time. So let's assume someone entered already their franchisor, they feel like they're stalling. Unit economics, they're working on that now, and not necessarily changing the numbers, but re-understanding, who they're a good fit for. 2, onboarding the right franchisees. 3, focusing on scaling, not selling. And that's going to change your communication, your messaging, how you treat the franchisees you have. And now on the capitalization, is the answer for the existing brands that are stalled to reset their expectations, set a realistic goal, and then put in the work on that realistic goal and maybe roll up their sleeves even deeper and get over that capital issue?
Yeah.
I feel like if my back is against the wall, I have a franchise brand, I'm limited on capital, but I have a great product service, the unit economics are there. I feel like there's wide open space, AI, web, other channels where I can make an impact on sales.
Yeah, but the key word there is I.
Okay.
I think that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part of business, is what are you willing to still do as the founder? Are you willing to hustle and put in the time to make deals happen? They're like, forever there's been salespeople, like the franchisors, like, I just want you do proactive outreach and reach out. They don't want to do that. They want to sit behind a desk and wait for the deals to come in. Most people don't like rejection. Most people don't like hustle. So the optimized word there is I. What are you, I, willing to do? Oh, look, the background just changed. It's like night. It's like on the car when you go through a tunnel. Like it just turned dark. You and the technology is so off today.
Hi, Nick. I'm not good with the
I don't
technology.
know what you're doing.
I'll just leave it.
Anyway, there we're back. Back on track. I is the word there. It's what are you willing to do?
All right. So,
and there's an I in AI, and AI will be talked about at FranCamp.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I can do your version. Like you're like, and hey guys, like well, you can come to FranCamp and we'll talk brand story and AI, and then later
Nick, on. Let's talk about FranCamp for a second. Realistically, for brands now, we're talking about getting unstuck, right? So, say a brand has an assortment of these issues. What's a tangible takeaway from FranCamp, and why would it be worth it to go?
Look, it's very simple. FranCamp will be valuable for those that make it valuable for yourself. Like it is set up so that you get takeaways. If you don't sit at a table and you don't speak up and say, here are my challenges, you will not walk away with solutions. We're back on night. If you do sit down at a table and you do come prepared and say, here are the challenges that I'm going through, then you walk away with tremendous solutions, whether you're a supplier or you're a franchisor. So we've designed this so that this is not a conference of PowerPoints or boring presentations, some keynote speakers who just try to wow you for 15 minutes while you're stuck on your phone. This is a conference that's about engagement and networking, and we hope that you walk away with takeaways, but it's only going to be as good as the conference makes it for you. I've heard people that have not had the best time. I'm like, great. How did you network? Did you talk about your issues? Well, no, I didn't talk about those. Well, that's why you didn't get the value that you wanted out of it. So I don't care if there's one person. I don't want one person there. I want more than one person, but we want a room of people that are ready to be engaged, which is exactly why if you're a franchise supplier and you're attending, you're not a supplier attending. You are a CEO, you're a head of sales, you're a head of marketing that is coming into a conference, and you're going to come with your challenges and listen to the solutions. The takeaway for this one is specifically AI. We are going to look through, like, what is the gap? If whatever you're selling a product as a supplier, you're a franchise attorney. If I search for franchise attorney, where are you? And if you're nowhere to be found, what's the game plan to get you found? Like we are actually going to work through that table by table, brick by brick to make sure that you have a game plan coming out. At that point, the word that Charles just talked about is I. What are you willing to do to make the adjustment? What are the two things that you can do? You can either do the solutions yourself, which we're going to talk about the content that you can produce yourself, or you can have the capital to go spend on a marketing agency to do it for you. Like there's going to be options beyond this. You're going to walk away with a playbook. And now, a year from now, when the brokers are disrupted because buyers are using ChatGPT to say, I don't need to talk to a broker and give them a commission. I can actually talk to ChatGPT. You're going to be well positioned so that you are in front of the buyers who want to buy franchises.
Yeah, and I think the playbook is going to be key. You know, as FranCamp's evolved, the playbook is evolved. So it's not just a theoretical session. You're going to be doing work at FranCamp. Guys, everyone who joined us today, I appreciate it. Check out FranCamp. Nick, I am glad you left capital to number 4. And I really think you really laid out a good blueprint today. Do you appreciate that, Nick?
I mean,
thanks, guys.
I like when we're kind friends. I think kind friends are fun. Hey, and be sure to smash that like button.